The letter arrived on a cold autumn evening, its edges crisp and yellowed with age. Daniel Mercer traced the ink with his fingers, an invitation to Black Hollow Manor, an estate abandoned for decades. The sender was unknown, but something about the letter tugged at his curiosity. "You are requested to return. The house remembers." Daniel hadn't set foot in Black Hollow since childhood. He barely recalled the events of that time, only fragments. Shadows in the halls, whispers in the walls, his mother's voice warning him never to return. Yet here he was, staring at an address long erased from maps. With nothing holding him back, he packed a single bag and set out for the forsaken estate. Black Hollow Manor loomed at the end of the road, its facade cracked and withered. The iron gate stood ajar, swaying slightly despite the still air. As Daniel approached, the sound of dry leaves crunching beneath his boots was swallowed by silence. The house was wrong. The walls seemed to pulse like something alive, breathing. The windows, hollow and black, watched him approach. The front door opened on its own with a slow, agonized creak. Inside, dust floated in the amber glow of candlelight. The air smelled of mildew and decay. Footsteps echoed above, but the house was supposed to be empty. Daniel wandered the halls, each step feeling heavier, as if the floor were trying to swallow him. The paintings on the walls had been defaced, faces scratched out, eyes gouged away. The air pressed against him, thick with something unseen. In the sitting room, an old phonograph played a warped tune on its own. A chair rocked back and forth though no one sat in it. Then came the whispering. It started low, seeping through the walls, the words unintelligible yet familiar. Then he saw it, his own name, etched into the wood of the grand staircase. Beneath it, another name, Eleanor. Memories surfaced. Eleanor was his sister. But Eleanor had died. Hadn't she? The whispers guided him upstairs to a door at the end of the hall. It was locked, but his hand trembled as it touched the knob. The key was in his pocket. He didn't remember picking it up. The door opened with a shudder, revealing a child's bedroom frozen in time. The furniture was untouched, save for the thick dust covering everything. Dolls sat in neat rows on a shelf, their button eyes watching. The bed was made, and at its center lay something impossible. Eleanor's favorite stuffed rabbit, pristine and untouched. A giggle echoed behind him. The door slammed shut. The whispers grew into voices. A child's laughter. Eleanor's voice calling his name. The walls trembled as the air grew colder. Shadows pooled beneath the furniture, stretching toward him. Then he saw her. Eleanor stood in the corner, her face hidden in shadow. But something was wrong. Her limbs were too long. Her neck twisted at an unnatural angle. Her voice was familiar, but it didn't belong to her anymore. "You left me." Daniel stumbled back. Memories clawed at his mind. Eleanor had been trapped here. Not dead. Trapped. And now, she was no longer alone. The floor beneath him split open. Darkness swallowed him whole. Daniel awoke in a cavern beneath the manor. The walls pulsed, slick with something black and alive. The air was thick with the stench of rot. He wasn't alone. Figures stood in the darkness, their faces familiar yet warped. Memories made flesh. His mother. His father. Eleanor. "Stay with us," they whispered in unison. The house didn't just remember. It fed. It had been waiting for him to return, to finish what had been started long ago. A choice lay before him. Run and risk becoming part of the house's memories, or stay and embrace the horror that had once been family. Daniel ran. The house howled, its walls closing in. Hands reached from the darkness, clawing at him. The stairs stretched endlessly, the door to freedom just beyond reach. Then Eleanor appeared before him, her form twisted, eyes hollow. She raised one hand, whispering a single word. "Stay." For a moment, he hesitated. Then he wrenched the door open and fell into the cold night. Black Hollow Manor loomed behind him, but the whispers were gone. The house had let him go. But as he turned to leave, the final horror revealed itself. His shadow, cast by the moonlight, was no longer his own. It was Eleanor's, and it was smiling. Months later, another letter arrived at a stranger's doorstep. "You are requested to return. The house remembers." Daniel never spoke of what happened at Black Hollow Manor. He moved to a city far from the ruins of his past, changing his number, avoiding old acquaintances, and pretending none of it had ever happened. But he knew the house wasn't done with him. At night, he heard it, the whispers crawling through his walls, slipping into his dreams, speaking in his sister's voice. The shadow that wasn't his own stretched too far in the streetlights, watching him. Then, one evening, he found something in his mailbox, a letter, yellowed and brittle. "You cannot run. The house remembers." The ink bled into the paper as if alive. His fingers trembled. The scent of mildew and old wood filled his apartment. The room darkened, shadows pooling in the corners. Something was here. He turned, and for the briefest second in the reflection of the window, he saw her. Eleanor, standing just behind him, her head tilted at an unnatural angle, her empty eyes staring. The lights flickered. Then the room went black. Daniel woke gasping, his sheets damp with sweat. The room was silent, but something felt wrong. He threw off the covers and froze. The wooden floorboards beside his bed were engraved with the same words from the letter. "The house remembers." His breath came in ragged gasps. He hadn't been dreaming. The days blurred, the city's lights dimmed, streets unfamiliar. People passed without seeing him, their faces blurred like smudged ink. The world felt thinner, as if reality itself was wearing away, and the shadows were getting closer. Desperate for answers, Daniel returned to Black Hollow. But where the manor once stood, there was nothing. Just an empty field, shrouded in mist. Confusion turned to dread. He stepped forward, and the ground gave way. He fell, tumbling into darkness. When he landed, he was inside the manor again. The walls pulsed. The whispers came from all around, and in the center of the room stood Eleanor, her back to him. "You never left," she said, her voice wrong, layered, like many voices speaking at once. Daniel stepped backward, but the floorboards bent like flesh beneath his feet. He looked down. His feet weren't on wood. They were standing on faces, hundreds of them, mouths open in silent screams. The air thickened, pressing down on him like a living thing. The house was alive, and it was starving. A single door appeared at the end of the hall, its surface covered in deep, claw-like gouges. He didn't want to open it, but something pulled him forward. His fingers brushed the handle, and suddenly, a surge of memories crashed through him. He saw himself as a child, standing at this same door. Eleanor was behind it, pounding and screaming. He had locked it, left her there, and walked away. The truth hit like ice. Eleanor hadn't been taken. She had been trapped. By him. His stomach twisted as the door creaked open, and what stood on the other side was not his sister. The creature stepped forward. It wore Eleanor's form, but it was wrong. Her limbs were too long, her joints bending the wrong way. Its mouth split into a grin that stretched too far, its teeth needle-sharp. "You left me," it whispered. Daniel stumbled back. He had done this. He had abandoned her. The thing lunged. He turned and ran. The halls twisted, leading him deeper. Every door opened to the same room, a mirror of his childhood home, rotting, decayed. Then, he saw it. A mirror. His reflection was wrong. It wasn't him. It was Eleanor. And she was smiling. "Come back," she whispered. The room melted. The walls turned into writhing black tendrils that reached for him. The house was devouring itself, and he was inside it. Daniel's screams echoed through the void. Then, silence. He opened his eyes. He was standing at the entrance of the manor. The sky was clear. Birds chirped. Had it all been a nightmare? Then he looked down. The ground was soft, like flesh. His own footprints were not his own. Far away, in another town, a woman found an old envelope in her mailbox. It smelled of mildew and old wood. You are requested to return. The house remembers. She turned it over. It was signed in faded ink with Daniel Mercer's name. The end.